This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, plus Alex, and all the homies.
All the homies.
All the homies. This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, the main show, not to be confused with the number one sports betting podcast coming out of the Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff enterprise, Sports Stuff Betting Stuff. I am the person. I'm the person that tries to maneuver what we got going on in the episodes. I'm Muff. Joining this evening is the Ohio Homer, the Ohio Degenerate, and the Ohio State guy, Jim.
Hello.
Also with us is the medical degenerate, the guru of all things medicinal, Alex.
That except for at this point in time, medicinal marijuana, just to clarify, not an expert on that yet. I mean, I'm not rolling it out. If it's legal in West Virginia, it becomes part of my practice. But before I get myself in trouble, that's me.
That's me. And the guru of officiating, the man who helps us break down things during football season, even during baseball season, because he is a two-sport official, Nate.
Glad to be here.
I think we're going to say anything with Nate. That's when you say something.
Okay, fine. Go Team USA. Cuba needs to go back to Cuba.
There you go.
You know, I think we all if the question for the podcast I have is if it was okay for us to go to Cuba, like on a vacation and like safe, would you go?
Yes.
I think so too, Nate.
I'd be there.
I think it'd be like a good time. The food's got to be okay.
Get some cigars.
That's
the thing that you could get them legally, maybe.
The women have got to be attractive. I think it'd be an all right trip, guys.
I know there is some cruises that you can go to like the cruise port, but it's like don't leave the port.
Yeah. I think Nate would be he needs to plan a sports stuff trip. And I feel like he's in on like the best vacation planner. We just don't know it.
See, I feel like Sam would love that, but she's currently MIA. But I'll have to let her know that she's in charge of that now as well.
No, Nate, you are in charge of that. Hold on. Don't pass the buck.
Nate just delegated very quickly.
I feel like we'll be getting like massages and pedicures in Cabo or something.
Right.
And it'll be like, great job, Nate. Nate's like, I just found out about this morning.
Right.
It's like,
you guys, I'm going to do that little thing for us all where you put your feet in the water and all the little fish go and eat the dead skin off your feet.
I'm okay with it. Let's go.
Today is Monday, March 20th, and the madness is upon us. Quick recap of some of the big news and some local flavor. In the first round, number one Purdue went down. They were taken out by Fairleigh Dickinson, also known as Farley Dickerson, if you listen to the betting podcast.
Yep.
Number two is
great.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. And also in the first round, number two, Arizona goes down to the Nerds from Princeton. And then they make their way to the Sweet 16 by taking out Missouri in the second round. Number four, Virginia goes down. Purdue and Virginia have like this weird thing, right? Where they just get into the tournament and then they just flop.
Oh, yeah, because last year wasn't St. Peter's and Purdue, correct?
Yes, I believe St. Peter's took out Purdue. Virginia lost to Furman.
They did.
And then it was Virginia a few years ago that lost to UMBC, right?
Yes. Yeah, they were the first 16 seed to go down, right? And
yes.
Now Purdue is I saw some stuff on social media where Virginia was, like clapping for Purdue, like, oh, yeah, now we're not the only one, and you've done it more recently than us. So
and then they subsequently get
right. And then they go down. Unfortunately, Alex, WVU went down in the first round, losing to Maryland.
They did. We live and die by Stevenson, and he was off, and we just don't have a team cohesive unit where one person picks up where the other is off. So maybe next year. Penn State won in the first round over Texas A&M and then was dismissed in the second round, losing to Texas. I was really excited to maybe have a horns down moment with Alex, but we were not able to make that happen. Number one, Kansas is taken out by Arkansas. Another one of the number one teams to go down. And number 5, Duke is taken out by Tennessee, even though Duke was the favorite in that matchup.
Tennessee.
Did anybody see the coach Arkansas take his freaking shirt off after the game?
Yeah, we'll get to
Yeah, that
that.
was
But
weird.
let's talk about Tennessee. How they have like a team of all 7-footers. They looked massive out there.
Yeah, they're like that. Alabama's like that. Alabama, number 1 overall seed, also has a very long team as far as when you're on the court, you're just like, man, they are all tall.
But to the Arkansas coach, I had some friends over and we were eating dinner at the time of the game, had the TV on, and one of my friends looked over and said, "Who is that?" And I said, "Well, it's an Arkansas fan or something. Could be the governor." Nope, it was the coach. Just throwing his shirt around like a helicopter.
North Carolina, except they're not from North Carolina.
So it was like, Arkansas, gonna raise up.
Like if WVU did that, happen to do that, I would understand because like the chances of them ever winning again or something. Then, but it'd be Bob Huggins on that table doing that. Which
You
would
see
be
Bob Huggins
worth
doing
it.
I
Yes,
would love to see Bob Huggins doing that.
no, he would have a heart attack getting on the table.
That may be true. So the Sweet 16 field is almost set. We've got 3 more games going on as we record on Sunday night. We have Alabama, San Diego State, Tennessee, Kansas State, Houston, Xavier, Texas, Arkansas, UCLA, Princeton, Marquette, Connecticut, Creighton, and to be determined the rest of tonight is if Fairleigh Dickinson gets in versus Florida Atlantic, Miami, Indiana, and TCU Gonzaga. Probably have at least a live update of a final from one of those games throughout this week's episode.
Marquette did not make the Sweet 16.
That was sad for me because I had high hopes for him.
Oh, who did they lose to?
They lost to Tom Izzo.
Michigan State.
Yep.
Yeah, we did that to them.
January, February, Izzo. This week's episode, we welcome a special guest on the show for the Masses podcast host, Jonathan Barrett. And a great conversation with JB about his podcast, about wrestling. We got into a lot of wrestling talk. He's a former collegiate wrestler, and just about some of the guests he's had on, and maybe some collaborative opportunities that are upcoming between Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff and For the Masses.
Yeah, good interview.
Yeah, it was a fun time. The NCAA Wrestling Championships did occur over the weekend. Penn State is still king, but there were some interesting things which we chat about in the interview with JB. Also, Aaron Rodgers is still not on a team, but there was an interview with Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee Show. Who all got a chance to listen?
I did.
I got the synopsis from you.
I could give a shit less.
You could give a shit less. So there are things in this you do care to some degree. That's good to know. To some degree,
but not very much.
Not very much. Well, for those that did hear about this, it was interesting to hear how the end is impending from Green Bay, how that all seemed to go down, at least from his perspective. And we will see how quickly something gets done between the Packers and the Jets for Aaron Rodgers to go in there. I think most notably is that he indicated he was most likely going to retire before he went into the darkness, comes out of the darkness, and he's ready to get back to it. So the darkness brought some clarity, Jim.
Good for Aaron.
As a reminder, as always, you can follow us at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, sportsstuffw.Jim _Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, like, share, poke, tickle.
Squeeze.
Get the bell on.
Get the bell on. Let's get some hockey updates. Pittsburgh Penguins, Alex.
The Pittsburgh Penguins are annoying this week. They did not have a good week. They are now at 34, 25, and 10, fifth in the Metropolitan with 78 points in the second wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference behind the Islanders, who have 80 points. On a 3-game losing skid this week, they lost to the Canadiens and the Rangers twice. Sorry, Kate, should not have talked so much smack when we beat them. This week, they have the Senators, Avalanche, Stars, and next Saturday, a rivalry game with the Capitals. They really do only have 13 games left in the regular season. I swear.
That's good. Jim, any updates on your teams?
Well, Vegas beat the shit out of Columbus today. So my team beat Columbus. The Kraken have dropped to 4th place in the Pacific. Their schedule, however, should lighten up. I think they only have maybe 2 games against Vegas on the way out, but the rest of the teams are okay. They have a fighting chance. Whereas the third place team in the Pacific, the Oilers, have a rough go. They have to go against the Kings twice, Vegas twice. So there's a chance that Seattle can go up. There's still hope here. I think Seattle's got a good chance of making the playoffs. We'll see.
We'll see. And other.
Hold on, I'm not done.
What other teams do you have to chat about?
Hold on.
Do you have another hockey team?
I will be at the Jackets game on Friday. This is good news for the Pittsburgh Yinzers as they play the Islanders.
Why is that good news?
Because you never know. The Jackets could upset them Islanders.
You better be rooting hard for us.
I'll be rooting hard for you, boys.
You have his cracking gear on and rooting for the Islanders.
I'll have to root for the Jackets, right? Because
do you
need the Islanders to lose?
Yeah. How can you can't not. That's embarrassing if you go and root against,
So we're hoping for the Islander losses, right?
Right.
We are. Jim will be a Blue Jackets fan for a one
Just
night
for
only
you,
endeavor.
boys.
A one night only endeavor.
Yep.
With some basketball news in the Division II front, we talked about this a little last week. West Liberty University basketball is playing in the Elite Eight on Tuesday against New Haven, with a chance to advance to the Final Four and a possible path to play former West Liberty legendary basketball coach Jim Crutchfield, who's now the head coach for Nova Southeastern. Nova Southeastern is currently the undefeated and number 1 seed in the Division II men's basketball playoffs. How cool would that be?
I wouldn't even get who won the game.
Oh, shut up, Nate.
Well, because I would feel good for him to finally get it done because they didn't get it done whenever I was in school and they got beat in the final.
Mm-hmm.
But for either him or West Liberty to get it done, I think would be awesome for the community.
I'm a big fan of Crutchfield from my time working there. I think he's a cool dude. But if they got to the finals and face each other and West Lib's the team that stops him from getting his, there's that little devil on my shoulder that goes,
jokes on you.
Should have known better.
We will see. That would be a good story, right? that would be the perfect story at the Division II level to lead into a basketball championship.
And I still contend there should be an ESPN feature on that. If that happens, my God, ESPN, what a story.
You gotta do something.
Yeah.
Gotta do something. So let's hope that it does happen. Let's will it to happen. And Tuesday night you can root at least for West Liberty. I don't know if both teams play on Tuesday. I don't think so. TBD. So with all that being said, let's get into the show.
Our opinions aren't too tough, rough, or gruff. We are proof that you don't have to be an expert to have an opinion. So just
shut up and sit down.
This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff.
All right, all loyal listeners, we have a special guest with us for this week's episode. With us is the host of For the Masses podcast, which interviews influential persons and interesting personalities, including a few high-level athletes. Hence why we wanted to get this gentleman with us. He's a former collegiate wrestler, an all-around good dude, and a fantastic human. Welcome to Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, Jonathan Barrett.
Chris, my brother, Alex, Jim, I'm excited to be with you all. One of the most consistent podcasts that I see, that I follow. I just want to tell you that and give you your flowers right now.
Appreciate you. Welcome to the show.
The flowers, that's a Jim thing too. Jim likes to give people their flowers.
And give them their flowers. That's a perfect phrase.
You have to while we're here, while we're
Exactly.
doing it, and we're in a similar space. Obviously you're different areas in the space, but we're in a similar space, and you guys are extremely consistent, doing multiple episodes per week now. So I'm excited for you guys, and we can talk about the sports betting thing and where I think you guys should go. I had a guy on my podcast who was very big in that space, so I would like to link you guys up with him too.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
What this
Yeah.
is, people helping people, right?
Absolutely.
So
And-
a little bit of the history. I know Jonathan JB from previous work in which we both worked in the same space in a higher ed institution. So that's how we got connected. Really, interesting and fun times, right, JB?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely interesting and fun on many levels.
Yeah, this is good. This is a good time. Good people, good time. But we've not grown apart, but we've obviously gone our separate ways since then. So just start out first. I mean, tell us a little bit about what you're into right now with your podcast, how you got into that, because I think we kind of like we're going our own separate directions, but both had like this aspiration and interest. So just tell us and tell all our loyal listeners, how you got into that, and what's interesting to you about podcasting.
Yeah, so I started podcasting. I was a guest on a few podcasts from like 2017, 2018 timeframe. One of my close buddies, Jamie Kane, he had a podcast called Everyday Edge. And it was extremely attractive to me because he talked about like just like self-improvement, getting better. And at the time, well, and still now, I was extremely into that kind of stuff. So like reading, working out, drinking water, eating, like things like that, and growing spiritually as well. So I knew him, and he invited me on to talk about podcasting. And, he always said, you should have your own show. And I was like, oh, trying to, the thing, everyone who has a podcast and you get on their show, they would tell you. So I just took it with like a grain of salt. And, he had told me that my episode with him was like his highest view episode at that point in time. So I was like super grateful and humbled by the opportunity. And obviously, in the type of things I'm involved with, obviously, like come from higher education, I am in the military, so super into leadership. And I was like, man, I do have something to say sometimes, and I have a lot of connections with a lot of people in different areas. So why not do an interview-based podcast? So my Instagram name was JB the Masses. And that came from, probably like an arrogant side of me saying, I'm massive, in the gym or something like that, something like 21-year-old, like ego, and then it also correlated to like Jesus fed the masses in the Bible, so started a huge like faith-based podcast where we interview people and their successes and how it glorifies God. And I've probably been doing that for like a year and a half, 2 years now, working on my consistency, like you all. And the thing about my podcast is that it's a interview-based podcast, so I can actually batch record and I can have podcasts like stored, as you guys are more like current event based and things like that, so you have to kind of like always be on it, so there's really no excuse for me not to be as consistent as you all, but I'm working on it and I've been getting more consistent. So yeah, that's where For the Masses came up with.
Right. Yeah, I knew the social media handles and everything, and I figured, but I never knew like kind of the initial understanding of where that came from. And it's just being a 21-year-old punk, right? I mean, that's where it comes from.
Yeah. Justifiably. And I think most people who know me, they see that side of me, but they don't understand how deep it goes sometimes. So like most of us dudes,
Yeah.
But
everybody's got that time in their life where you just let it grow into your own kind of brand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's funny because you probably met me at the time when I was just like, hey, JB, you could be cool sometimes, you don't always got to be on it. And so I appreciate you, Chris, for that, because you're a mentor in many aspects of my life. So
I appreciate it. So we don't like to do this, and we're not, we're going to ask you, but you don't have to rag people. But what have been some of your favorite guests, some people that you were like really interested, either the interview was really interesting or that you had built up this anticipation for, like, oh man, like I'm gonna chat with this person and I'm really really excited to do this?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously I can't rank because like all these people are from different genres. I would say, so my episode number 10 was a guy named Father Paul Abernathy. He also went to Jesuit. And he's a Syrian African American Orthodox priest now. Yeah.
Category.
Yeah. He's Syrian and African American Orthodox priest. hey, what does the Orthodox priest like look like? Well, when I first met him, it was on a mission trip, and I went to Pittsburgh, and he has a nonprofit called Focus Pittsburgh, where he focuses on like trauma-informed community involvement, which basically mean within the first 48 hours of someone having a traumatic experience in Pittsburgh, he trains the community to be able to respond, because that's it's extremely important for people within the first 48 hours. So this guy does that work. He lives in the hood with these people. He does church services. They do dental work. They do all these different things. So he's in the trenches basically. So I meet this guy and I'm like, all right, cool. Well, a black guy in a priest robe, like a Catholic priest? Like what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then so he comes in a room. This lady has a baby in her arms and he kisses the lady. I'm like, all right, well, hold on. So priest, like, aren't you a priest? Like, what do you mean? You have, okay, she has a baby, you kissed her, and then he's black. So I'm like, I'm all like discombobulated. So this dude, he's like, first thing he says, hey, I'm Orthodox. So I guess that was all he needed to say. So Orthodox priest is the second biggest church after the Catholic Church, and he essentially they don't take vows of like celibacy and not to have family and things like that. So explained it all for me. So and I was like, yo, this is crazy. So then he started telling the story, and then he had like influences from Martin Luther King. So he projected well, and he's very knowledgeable, doctor, Father Paul Abernathy. So he was my number 10 episode, and this guy is like incredible, phenomenal. I believe, Chris, you heard him speak at a few of our events.
Yeah.
So definitely an amazing individual. That he was in my number 10 episode. I would say after that, probably David Putty Agans. He was in my number 3 episode, and I think his episode was impactful just because of his knowledge base, but also because he's like super relatable as it relates to like appearance, and then he prepared really, really well. Like he sent me like a page of notes before the episode.
I'm not surprised, right? just knowing him, like he would always like to be very prepared and stuff like that. But that's cool, yeah. And it's interesting to have those ties, like have some higher ed ties, maybe not with Putty working directly with and with Father Abernathy, just that tie of the school, right? Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. It's interesting. Jim's had some conversations with some priests. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
That leaves open for interpretation, Mom.
like confession conversations.
I was like, that makes, knowing Jim, that makes sense.
Right. I've had some. Jesuit was a good time for me. Had some very heartfelt conversations with some interesting fellows. Jesuit priests are cool dudes in my mind.
Oh, extremely cool, and that's what people don't know. People don't know that priests are actually like insane.
Some of them are
in a good way.
Yeah. So some of them have like some really unique and interesting experiences, and have had like you said, some wild parts of their lives that you wouldn't think about. Just a real quick, Father Jim O'Brien. I don't know if you really had much intersection with him, JB.
Mm-mm.
Okay, this man was mid 80s, living in a freshman dude dorm, right?
Yeah,
and soaked it up. Kept the most odd hours. Was walk in after midnight, and just have the most interesting conversations with like 18, 19-year-olds that you would ever see. I've heard him talk about like you're talking about drawn penises and like if you think that's what makes you a man, then I can draw the biggest penis. Like this dude just like go off in the middle of these meetings, and it did so in such like a subtle and calming way that you didn't realize that he was calling you out or that he was making you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like an hour later you'd think that conversation, be like, he did that. That's really what just happened. But yeah, there's definitely some interesting times. I know, kind of coming back a little bit on that sports side, you've had some sports figures as well. A current NBA player in Haywood Highsmith. That was a wrestler. He's in the UFC space now with Alex Godinez. So for us, that's really interesting, right? Because you get that D2 basketball player that aspires to and makes it all the way to the NBA. So
Yeah.
I've listened to that, and I encourage anybody that's listening around to listen to that. But how crazy was that ride? And what did you gain from that discussion with him?
Bro, this is the craziest story ever. And and like, so yeah, those are my first two, and then now these next three are getting to the sports. And yeah, Haywood Highsmith, I would make that episode probably number 3 on my list of like great, like just amazing, because he's so humble. He was like so willing to do the episode. I didn't want to come off like a clout chaser and like, hey, you're in the league now, bro. Like let's do it. But I think also what attributed to that is like, obviously we had an actual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always like see him in like the G League, and I would just like, yo, grind and keep grinding, bro. And it's a blessing because he was always super humble. He was never like a clubber or anything like that, but he would just be dropping buckets, like drop 40 on a pretty good D2 team, and then come back and just like want to play video games. Like in it, they're like, what? And like he wasn't always into like all the girls talking to him, and just want to go back home and chill and like get ready for the next game. So yeah, I had him on, and for everyone listening, he's on the Miami Heat roster currently. And he got called up he did 10, I want to say 5-10 days contracts during COVID. So during COVID, he was in the G League still doing his thing. Everyone was getting COVID, and they called him up he got called up to Philly twice, and then he got called up to Miami Heat to do 3 10-day contracts. And then they're like, yo, like this dude, he attributes to this team, and so they signed him for a rookie contract. So surreal, because it's like, when I talked to him, it was like still talking to the same Haywood from like 5-6 years ago in the college dorms. And we used to terrorize him. I won't tell you that right now. I don't know what made him stay on that hall, but I'm talking like people used to pee on his doorknob, and like, yeah, it was some crazy stuff. Right. Oh yeah, urine.
Oh,
urine. Yeah, on his doorknob and stuff like that.
Sure,
And
I heard right.
I think he enjoyed it, because a different level of savagery we brought to the floor. But yeah, now he's in the league, and I think his all-time high points wise was like 18 to 22, somewhere in there. And every time he gets in, he's definitely like showing why he belongs there. So being from D2, like we put on our back.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. And I've kept up, like every once in a while, I'll check at the box score. I don't know his current status, but I know that for the better part of the last couple months, he was rostered, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
It's a story of grit, determination, and just like you said, just being humble about it. Like, you can't expect, coming from that D2 level just to be handed everything. You gotta work for it.
Absolutely.
Which brings a little bit about you, right? You have your own athletics journey,
Yeah.
being a collegiate wrestler at the D2 level. And, you had a lot of influential people, and you still do keep in touch with them, I'm sure, as part of that journey. But, tell us a little about how that journey has impacted your life. You were with a new program at the time that grew into really a top tier program.
Yeah.
And then, how that just impacted you from that point forward.
Yeah, man, I'm super blessed and grateful for like the opportunities I've had, because I don't feel like I was that good. I wasn't like the best wrestler, on the team or anything like that. I definitely had to like earn, the success that I did have. I'm from inner city Richmond. I think I was the only guy like wrestling at some points, in the inner city. I started in 9th grade. And when I graduated, I didn't qualify for states, and I had 0 offers my senior year. But I love the sport. So I just kept on wrestling on the off season. And then started getting some looks, because I was like, I was getting better, even on the off season. So I went to a D3 where they were NAIA. They cut the program when I got there. So we wrestled club. So I wrestled club for about a year, and just got better, led the team in takedowns, and I had something to show a coach at the next level that like, hey, I can perform in college. So did that. Went on a visit to Jesuit. My friends drove me out, met Coach Sean Doyle. He didn't even have a room yet, but I liked him so much, and I was like, yo, sign me up. And it was surreal, because literally he only had signed up like 2-3 guys. I'm already in college. I already have stats, right? So I'm pretty sure I could find someone else to do something for me, and he didn't have a room. He just started in December. This is January. He signed 3 guys. you know, and he just was like super, like he had a vision. And the thing that really stuck with me, and I encourage any leader to like, you know, when they're talking to guys, like most coaches told me, John, by your senior year, you can be special, do something special. He told me, let's chase this national title together. And it was so different for me because it was like a high level conversation. And like, I don't know what that looked like at the time. So it got me excited, you know? And so, yeah, I did that, you know, end up, you know, wrestling there for 3 years, you know, 2-year team captain, probably had like 31 career wins in college. And then after that, translated into coaching. And, you know, my first year coaching, we placed number 2 in the nation with a national champion in Terrence Fanning, who was a phenomenal athlete who I would love to get on the podcast. You know, he was also my little. So basically, it was all because of me. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, you two are entirely different humans. He was the heavyweight.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And for everyone listening, like the context is I probably weighed like 160, 170, and Terrence is 250 pounds of like pure muscle, and he could crush me if he wanted to. So yeah, and then been blessed because like, again, how many coaches get to like hold an NCAA title their first year coaching, you know, or second year? Yeah, first year coaching. And it was just surreal. So then I end up like going to Davidson Elkins, coaching there. Coach, I probably coached almost like 10 All-Americans within the span of like 3 years, which is like crazy to me because I started 9th grade and I'm from Virginia, you know, which is a top 15, top 20 wrestling state, but it's not Ohio, it's not Iowa, it's not Cali, it's not Pennsylvania. So
so excited.
yeah, bro, I'm it's surreal. So, you know, back to like the guys I had on the podcast, I had Johnny DeJulius, 4-time All-America from Ohio State. He's been on a podcast twice, and you know, he's a base jumper, pretty popular on the internet right now. Sponsored by Logan Paul, you know, things like that. And he was on the show, you know, and high level wrestler, you know, wrestled at the Ohio State, you know, when Ohio State won.
My guy.
The Ohio State. Yeah, I had to save that one for last. You know, the Ohio State, and he was on a podcast, and he's a very amazing orator. And not only that, just his mindset is unique, and he has to be unique if he wants to jump off of bridges, right? And West Virginia Bridge Day, he got arrested, so I mean that's cool.
Yeah. Wait, how do you get arrested on Bridge Day whenever you're supposed to jump off the bridge on that day?
I don't know. Maybe he tried to go on early or something because it's like 5-hour window. And so I don't know if he tried to go early or what, but I saw the thing. I was like, oh my gosh, this dude is insane, literally.
It's not a free for all. You can't just run around jumping off whatever bridge you want in West Virginia. We have rules.
Yeah, we have some rules.
Where if you want to jump off a bridge, you can.
Yeah, and yeah, so he was on the podcast twice. Like I said, he's sponsored by Logan Paul, and you know, because they're from Ohio too. So you guys got a lot of talent coming in and out of Ohio.
It's true. It's true.
You just made Jim's day by saying anything about Ohio and wrestling, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
We've had an argument this week about this. Of which
did you?
Yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania is the best state for wrestling. We all know this. There's nothing new.
Yeah. Numerically, yeah, I would say so for sure.
Numerically, yes.
You know,
that's true.
Yeah. In addition to that conversation, you've had an opportunity to comment, like just to work with some, you know, some real dogs on the wrestling mat. I mean, just talking about like Ty Warner, Colea, you know, some D2 national champions, and Terrence obviously as well, Connor Craig, those guys. That was the old Jesuit crew that, you know, migrated a little bit north to you know, West Liberty. So I don't know how you feel about that, but they've continued that legacy that was, you know, that started, right, that foundation that you were part of at Wheeling. So
and it's surreal because, like I said, I'm from Virginia. You know, I started in 9th grade, didn't even know about the sport up until 9th grade. Didn't know about NCAAs until like I was a sophomore, junior, you know, and it's like, just a blessing for sure. And like, those guys are high level wrestlers. Like Ty Warner's the most winningest. He probably the most historical wrestler in Ohio State history, Ty Warner. And just to see his mindset. By the way, he coaches in Virginia right now. He coaches down the street in Roanoke right now. I just want to tell everyone that. So, you know, Virginia wrestling, obviously doing something right if we got Ty Warner down here.
Yeah.
You know, but so he's a dog, you know, and their mindsets are just insane because like these guys coming into college, they're kids and they're coming in not afraid to, shake things up, shake the world up. And Time Warner came in, he took a gray shirt, a red shirt, and whatever other shirts he could, coming in, and then we got Connor Craig. Connor Craig was at a camp with us. And he was okay back then. He was okay. He took me and Dom down. And we was like, okay, this guy's he's okay, and he had like knee ice on his knees, like double knee surgery or something like that. So I didn't think he would translate to college like he did, like he would. And so it was surreal. So see Connor Craig come in, Cole Leia, the he was literally like the little engine that could from West Virginia. Literally. And this dude is insane. If anyone ever talked to him, Cole Leia, he won 2 national titles. He just lost it. He didn't get a 3rd national title this weekend, but a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal spirit. And his mindset towards things was like, bro, I'm trash. I'm not good enough to be here. So I'm gonna work super hard. And he would just beat himself up mentally. It was very interesting and very probably toxic.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that was said on a couple broadcasts about a lot of wrestlers during the national championship this weekend.
Yep.
Sammy Sasso and the guy he wrestled in the finals. Sasso. Both those guys, the commentators were like, if you talk to them, they will tell you they suck.
Yeah, for sure.
And you got 2 guys going for the national championship at 149, and they both think they suck.
Yep.
And it was but that's the mindset of a wrestler, of a good wrestler, is they're always improving.
Yep.
There's no real ego there.
It really isn't. And they're all insane. I think it's such a humbling sport. That's why. And it's we don't have a lot of schools. There were 77 D2 D1 schools when I first started. D2 had 65 and D3 had 150. So your opportunities to actually go on a team, get recruited in college, not only start because there are only 10 spots, but to get money with 9.9 scholarships in Division I only, Division II, maybe 9.7. divided by X amount of people. So your opportunities of going and competing at the higher level, if you're not on the top 100 list of wrestlers, is pretty slim to none,
Well,
pretty slim to none.
It's a similar concept that I say, with running, obviously wrestling is a hard sport, but there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
You're either going to win or you're going to lose. In basketball, you can be kind of that 5th man that's on the winning team and maybe not the biggest contributor, but in wrestling, you either win or you lose.
You either win or you lose. And you get what you earn.
And you're right there. Yep. It's just you. There's no one out there to hide behind.
You get what you earn. Now, for sure, you can't hide behind anything. And so I definitely think it's a humbling mindset. You rarely see cocky wrestlers, cocky in a way of I'm the best dude out here, because anyone can lose. Anyone can lose. And we saw that this weekend at March Madness. Man, Spencer Lee lost. For everyone listening, Spencer Lee was a child prodigy. He was more famous than me when he was 10 years old, winning national titles at 10. And this guy is insane. He's from Pennsylvania, and he committed to Iowa, won 3 national titles. So during the COVID year, his COVID-free year, he won a national title where he disclosed at the end of his title, I tore both my ACLs. I have no ACLs right now, and I'm winning national titles, went viral on ESPN. So he went into this tournament and he lost in the semis to a young Ramos from Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost cried, honestly, because I was just after you get 3, you kind of want to see people get 4, and he ended up losing in the semis by a crazy pin, and he was up.
That was great. I was watching that. Hilarious. The viral moment from that, aside from him getting pinned, was his mom's reaction. Did you see that?
I didn't see his mom's reaction. No.
Oh, you can look up this later. His mom wears glasses, and she literally tore those glasses apart after he lost.
Yeah, she did. I did see that, Muff.
She was so just emotionally. I don't think it was necessarily anger exclusively, but just so emotional at how that's how it ended, and it ended so quickly. It was just a moment where you need to be mom was all in for this, and it didn't happen, and she just didn't know how to react, and the thing that was right in front of her were her glasses, and she was
but now you're sad and don't have glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, now you mess your stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get a little bit more this weekend, right? There's a lot that happened over the weekend of these championships. You had Spencer Lee go down, RBY lost in the final.
Oh my gosh. So RBY from Penn State. So everyone, Penn State's been the most dominant team in wrestling over the last 10 years. You know, if you would say that, yeah, it's 23, right? So 2012, the most dominant team. You know, which is, you know, Ohio State won. They won one over the last 10 years. You know, so it's okay.
They
And
got one.
Iowa,
you're
Iowa
going
won.
back down Jim's list of favorite people. You're up for a minute.
Dag, Jim, I came on here just to talk about Ohio State. By the
I know
way.
you did. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go.
And so yeah, you know, Penn State won one. I mean, Ohio State won one. Ohio State. So like, they probably won the last. Like, they probably won 5 or 6. But yeah. So RBY, man, he was contemplating whether he's going to come back or not. You know, and he's been so dominating, and he's such a agile guy from Arizona, and he trains with like UFC guys, like he trains with Dominic Cruz on his footwork and things like that. So he really was coming out here like being saucy and just like providing a another aspect to the college atmosphere that we haven't seen in a long time. I would say the last time we seen it is by a guy named Ed Roof. He fought in Bellator, and now he coaches in at where he coaches at? Illinois. You know, but yeah, he was such a slickster, and he brought in a different level of athleticism to the sport. But RBY lost this weekend. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? You know, and then but you know, Penn State, they had a few guys win. Starochi, Carter Starochi. I don't know if I ever say his name right. But
Starachi and Aaron Brooks both won. They had
Brooks.
Those 3 others get second. They had 5 in the finals, which is pretty crazy, but they only had 2 win. They had 2 guys third place and another 7th, which is Max Dean, who's a returning national champion. He got tossed out in the quarters or semis, I forget which. But I mean, it was hilarious. He was the returning national champion. He was ranked 9th.
It's crazy. And the thing about Max Dean, I think he was so underrated because his brother Gabe Dean was such a dog, right? You know, and he put the Dean family on the map. And so like, he got a brother, oh man, and he works just like his brother. But you know, I think there was a lot of different combination that goes into us having success. And you know, definitely, I don't know. I can't really speak on it. I don't really know him, but yeah, interesting seeing him that low. Who else? So we're talking about who else lost?
You had lost after that. I think it was more of who won, right? You had was it Cornell's Yanni Diakonalis?
Oh, Yanni's a dog.
And then Mason Paris finally got a national championship at heavyweight. He was in like the shadow of Kyle Snyder and Gable Steveson.
So let's talk about Mason Paris, right? I feel like he wrestled in college for 10 years because I feel like he wrestled in college when I was in college. And that was 2016 I graduated. So I don't know where Mason Paris, I really feel like he's my age, 29. He has to be 29 at least.
There, with the COVID year plus some red shirts, you've got some guys that are like 7th, 8th year out there right now.
Oh, it has to be. And I was like, he's been in the final 5 times, you know, so yeah, Mason Paris, he's a dog, heavyweight champion. Like obviously, like seeing him compete at a high level, like and truly in the shadow of Kyle Snyder and Gable Steveson. Now a you know, Olympic gold medalist and WWE star.
Yeah, Jim. What's he been up to, Jim? Is he still like getting trained?
He's still getting trained. He's still trying to adapt to it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and I think he's trying to like flirt with the Olympics still. So it's like, which route are you going?
I know. I was like WWE.
Give him dollars.
Yeah, I mean it's there. Well, maybe, who knows? They're gonna get sold, right, Jim?
Right.
Oh, really?
Right.
WWE?
They're thinking about flirting with the Saudi Arabia gig.
Oh, really?
All our sports are gonna go there.
Yeah.
They got too much money. That's why. They just like buying sports.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. They're buying the sports, but I think there's the major storylines from the championships that I can recall.
So obviously, like, you know, Aaron Brooks won. Yeah. You know, returning national champion. He's a dog. We talked about Sorochi. We talked about Yanni. Like I said, Yanni, his mindset is very different. When he can't, like, obviously he's probably gonna get ready for like Worlds and the Olympics. But yeah, he won 4, but he was always like the type of guy, like, yeah, you know, I'm not these other 4-timers, you know, I'm myself, and like I'm the culmination of all these guys that came before me, and just kind of piecing it together. So it was very, very, very interesting. Man, it was very interesting. Guys have been so dominated over the last decade that you a four-timer going into the finals, you kind of expect them to win and expect them to win well, so.
It was Nino Bonacorsi from Pitt. I think that their first individual title in like 10 plus
Princeton.
years.
Not Princeton. Is it Pitt or Princeton?
Nino Bonacorsi is from Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah.
His dad was like the quintessential Pittsburgh dad in my mind. Had like the mullet, like was wearing just like a sweatshirt and jeans, and just looked like a guy from Pittsburgh. Everything about it. He's going downtown, down south side. He's gonna get himself something from Pants and that. Like he's like he's that guy. Yeah, just looked like a Pittsburgh dude.
That's right. And Pittsburgh does have their own vibe. I love Pittsburgh, honestly. It's always a good time. It's a young city, but it's a cold city at the same time. And so Pittsburgh. But then I wanted to see Quincy Monday, who everyone knows, like Kenny Monday, first Black Olympian. He didn't win it, but his dad started a program at Morgan State in Maryland and Baltimore. I'm gonna go see if he wants me to coach with him. But
call your shot.
Hey, it's right up the street. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna hit up Kenny and like tell him here's my stats. Am I good enough? Am I good enough?
You start with, these are all the All-Americans that I've been a part of their coaching. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna say, hey, these are all the guys who are better than me that I coached.
What about Max? You tell me you know Max.
Hey, so yeah, I'll tell him I know Max, right? So for everyone listening, Max Lacey, he wrestled Division II, was never a national qualifier. Always the talent was always there. Really had a hard time finding his weight. Didn't know what weight was best for him, but always was extremely talented and was always right there to be a national qualifier. So he graduated from Jesuit, extremely decorated, probably 70 wins. He translates out of college, goes into just like the regular job world, gets a job, gains a little bit of weight, and then he comes back and he sees a little matches and he's like, man, I still feel like I could do this. Got back in shape, got back into wrestling shape, started training here and there, went over to Costa Rica. He has dual citizenship. Went over to Costa Rica and was like, hey, who's your guy? Like, I'm willing to wrestle him for the SPY, and beat the guy in Costa Rica for the SPY. So now he's a Costa Rican World Team member, right? Now he's their guy. He probably he won a match at Worlds, and no one ever won a match in Costa Rican from Costa Rica and Worlds. So I'm definitely making history, and it's not really talked about in the wrestling community like it should be, especially coming from Division II, and he was my roommate, and I was better than him. So it's very shocking. It's very shocking.
You were better than him. He's now better than you, right?
He's better. He's way better than me. He's sponsored. He's sponsored by the RTI up at Indiana. So the Regional Training Institute. He's sponsored up there. Sponsor athlete, full time, just like wrestles and travels to tournaments. And he's there with some pretty phenomenal guys. Isaiah White, Chad Red from Nebraska. And their coach is pretty talented as well. So, they're a growing team, a growing RTI. Super, super happy for him. So around these high level athletes, and his was one of my most favorite episodes as well. On For the Masses podcast. And he actually talked about like the mindset and like what really got him to, where he's at now, where he can be doing his dream full time, and that's a blessing. So he's always in Bulgaria and like Russia and training in places where I wouldn't go for fun. But
I wouldn't go for fun.
It's crazy, man. So like Division II, another Division II guy doing what it takes. And every time everyone I tell guys like, yo, like, yeah, he's on a Costa Rican World Team, making history, so he's the LeBron of Costa Rican wrestling.
The LeBron of Costa Rican wrestling.
Did you just make that up?
Basically. But I told him, I was like, Max, if you don't go over there and demand more money, you just like got them a history in the history books, and and they give all the money to like some other sports that are a little bit more like when you think about Costa Rica, where you would think. So it's like wrestling isn't the top of their priority list, but he's literally came in, beat your guy, and like water polo has more funding than them, or something like that. I'm like, all right, well, this guy just made history for you guys, so like do something. He's too nice. I told him let me manage him.
He is. Did you?
Yeah, I told him I'll manage him 10%.
10%. 10%. That's what 10%. 10%. That's all I want. All right, JV. Well, what's next? What's next that you have on the slate for your podcast? I don't know if this is something you want to talk about, but like your rap career, you're always dropping albums, and just life, man.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm honored that we were able to make this happen, Chris, because I know we're trying to like, hey, how can we do something like a crosstalk on a podcast? And I think you should all come on the For the Masses podcast. I don't do it like this. I don't do anything like this, but I think you guys would like the format, and we can talk about, definitely how you guys are like chasing your dreams, and that's a blessing too. And you're doing it as friends.
This is the friends.
Making it happen.
We are friends.
And like I said,
hook me up. I'll be on anytime you want.
It'll be lit, and I don't know where you guys are at spiritually and with your faith journeys. I would love to like hear where you guys are at with that as well. And so I in 2020, I started. I don't know where it came from.
Me either. That's why I want to know.
I posted a picture and I was like, yo, mixtape coming soon. And it took off. It took off quicker than my podcast. So let's be honest. And everyone's like, oh, JB's like, he's doing music. He's doing this. Like, yo, he's ready to drop music. And like, I don't know if it's like my tone or like if people know me, the way I say things, that people just take me serious or something. I don't know. But everyone took me serious. And then I had my friend Anna. She came over and she recorded me in this vest. I had a vest that said 804. That's Richmond, Virginia. And it looked like one of the old 50 Cent vests. And I had her ask me like rap questions. I was like, yeah, how long you been rapping? I'm like, I've been doing this since I was 13, and just really like, who's your inspiration? People from the streets like Drake. And obviously I talk like this, so no one believes me. But I was like Little Dirk. And I started just the video just went crazy. And people really thought I rapped for a long time, which I do rap if anyone listening to this, and I in 2020 during the pandemic, I could have got booked for a show. I could have got booked. I don't have any music. I don't have one song.
There's not a single song to listen to.
I don't have any music. Literally none.
You accidentally wrote that and then.
Yeah, and then it just took off.
And he's still out here trolling this idea.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I would say like every 6 months I see something pop through like Instagram. And I'm like, he's still having this go on, and people still believe it.
And I think for me, like I believe it now. I think I believe it. I think I'm a rapper, and so
with your Beatles hat on, right?
With my Beatles musicians.
That's it.
So it's very interesting how the internet works. It's very, very fascinating because it's like, man, like either it's me or like just people just believe anything on the internet. And
yes, so, I mean, if that's a new concept for you, we might have an issue.
Yo, internet is crazy, and so that was my music. That was my music, my career. I'm gonna do one song.
You consider that a music career? Like,
I mean, to a certain extent, if I'm gonna get booked, I'm gonna get booked somewhere. Because I saw a girl.
But what are you gonna do?
So okay, don't tell anyone. Okay, I'm gonna tell you for real. I'll tell you. Okay.
Okay.
So, are you familiar with Fiverr?
Like Fiverr, like that you eat. So you
like the freelance app?
Oh nope. I thought you meant like dietary fiber.
Oh no, not Fiverr. Fiverr. It's a freelance app that basically a whole bunch of freelancers from around the world put their services on. So one of those services, ghostwriting.
All right. So you're gonna have to hire one.
I already did.
You got him on the back burner just in case you accidentally get booked.
Yo, Alex, I already hired one. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this. Okay, Jim, I'm so serious. I already hired
I'm
one.
with you.
Hey, so my brother actually is a real rapper. He makes beats. He sent me beats. I think he thought I was serious too.
Oh no.
So he emailed me the beats. Like we're best friends now, guys. I just want to tell you this right now. So he emails me the beats, and I'm like, sends it to Ghostwriter, and he comes back with a song. And so I have a song. I just have to get in the studio and record it, but I don't want anyone to laugh at me while I'm in the studio because you can hear the way I talk. So, but
I think you should redo our theme song.
I would do it. I thought I was gonna get it today. Was it Chris be like, it's sports stuff with Jim and Muff.
This is gonna be inlaid somewhere in the middle of the episode, so
I mean,
we'll get there. Yeah.
I don't understand why we don't have him on here, Muff. As like,
Well,
we should contract him out. He should rap our intro. No,
we could have
what exit?
we could have a cross collab between him and Joey Adams.
Oh,
Who's
Be
Joey
like,
Oh, he's already. He should put shade on Joey. We better slow down.
wow. He's another guest that we've had that has he has actually released music. He's on Spotify and all that. He's country, so I mean, you guys
that would be an
could do
interesting
like
matchup.
you could do like a remix of one of his songs. So he's got the beats, right? I don't know if I'd call what Joey does beats, but he's got the music. You guys can maybe do a cross collab of finally getting you on the radio.
I need to do something. I'm down because you put me on the Kane Brown, so I know it's possible. I love Kane Brown.
Isn't that a new? Isn't that like a new genre, like rap country rap?
I think it depends. I think it depends on
New-ish.
who you're asking.
New-ish. People say like Jason Aldean had that flair to him. You've got some older musicians in the country space that were doing more of. I don't say it's definitely not rap, but they were definitely doing some more speaking to it as opposed to like some traditional country. But yeah, we'll see. I'll get with Joey. We'll see if he's interested in doing this cross collab with a world-renowned rapper without a song.
Yeah, I already have the cloud and I have a song, so I'll
he has the cloud.
The clout.
Got the
There was a
clout.
T, Jim. That was not a D. That was a T.
I was like,
Jim and I actually can't hear either.
Well, JV, appreciate it, man. Why don't you shout out your podcast, how people can follow you, get in touch with you, engage with what you got going on, man?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. The podcast is For the Masses podcast on all platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. My personal handle is at JB the Masses. Really, if you guys are listening, subscribe on Spotify. That's where we're putting out the video podcast and things like that. So I'll have the Jim, Muff, and Alex on here shortly, so we can do another podcast. And I want to tell you guys, there's a guy named Brad Thomas. His podcast is called What's the Spread? It's a sports betting podcast. He runs like 3 or 4 podcasts, and he on NBC Golf. Okay, I'm going to link you guys up with him, and you guys can talk about the sports, sports and sports betting podcast, how to grow your sports betting podcast too. I think he'll be extremely beneficial for you guys.
Sounds good.
You're the man, JB. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your thoughts, ideas, and we're gonna make this music career just skyrocket now.
Hey, we're gonna pop.
That's the goal. That's the goal. I'm gonna represent you. I only want 9%, not the 10 that you wanted for Max.
Hey, and you're a fair man. And Max is my friend, so he's stupid. No, I'm just kidding. I was kidding. But no, it was a pleasure. I'm glad we were able to make this cross collab happen. Like I said, you guys are like the most consistent podcasters I know. And like there's been quite a few people who started podcasts, and you were obviously all of us are in the top 10% right now. So like let's keep growing and keep building, and I pray the best for all of you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. Football may not be happening right now except in the XFL, but we still talk about football in
the off season.
Got a little bit more brass and a little bit going in there, Jim. I think you're gearing up for it.
Yeah, when we get to the heart of the summer, that's when it'll be like real aggressive and just it's a slow build at this point. I'm starting to hone in on it.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to clean the spit off his screen yet.
Yeah.
So the theme of this week mostly is just talking about some signings, some releases, and some other things that are going on in the football world. So it's gonna be a lot of chat about, are things good for a team? Have some of the players they've lost, what will that impact? How will that impact teams moving forward? So a lot of just general conversation about players and moves this week. Here in a few weeks, we're going to get more intense and we'll get into the draft. So that'll be fun. So first topic this week in the offseason is just an update on Jalen Carter. Former Georgia defensive lineman has pleaded no contest to misdemeanor charges of reckless driving and racing. His attorney told ESPN The former Georgia star defensive lineman, top NFL prospect, was sentenced to 12 months probation, $1,000 fine, and 80 hours community service, and will attend a state-approved defensive driving course. By resolving the matter, the state is forever barred from bringing additional charges against Carter related to the post-Georgia championship celebration death that he was a part of.
Wait, whoa.
Of speed racing or racing.
All right, hold on.
Yes, Jim.
Hold on. I know that you're doing a very nice job of being PC about this. That man was driving a car, probably going too fast, and another man died.
Oh, 2 people died.
2 people died. Forgive me. And he got 12 months probation, a $1,000 fine, and 80 hours community service. Has to take a class. Okay, when you read like black and white facts, one would go, that's bullshit.
On paper, it does sound that way, yes.
The district attorney says, had there been more evidence to go on, they would have nailed him to the wall. Okay.
Yes, Jim.
I that's how I felt at the end of that. Like, okay. Like,
yeah, I'm just curious what more evidence was needed, or what was there, or was not, because I mean, if the misdemeanor charges were related to racing, were related to reckless driving, so I mean, what else do you need to prove it? That's what I don't know.
Right. I don't know.
That was my question too. Like, what evidence did they have originally to bring him up on that? And then what more would they have needed to continue that?
And this doesn't negate civil charges.
Correct.
I just want to make real clear, like, this guy's probably first year in the league is probably going elsewhere.
His money, the money that he earns is there's a good chance that he's going to be found responsible in civil court. I agree. This is the the OJ Simpson type situation. Like, yes, the big thing didn't happen, but there were a lot of civil proceedings after that. So there is still more to come.
Do you draft him?
He's going to go in the top 10 for sure, if not the top 5.
I think he drops. If you want my honest gut opinion, I think he drops.
How far though?
I'm first round, but late in the first round.
It's fair. I mean, I wouldn't fault anybody for allowing him to drop and being concerned.
Because who knows what that probation means? Like, he's not going to a team that goes to overseas.
I'll leave the country.
You know what I mean? And like,
if that was your only holdup, though, that's only one game.
There's probably some other like rigmaroles he's got to jump through.
I mean, someone with sickle cell can't play if you play at Denver.
That's true. That's true. But that's consideration if you're drafting him. I'm just saying.
It's true. That is true. So getting into some of the signings over the past week, and we're going to probably not go through all of these in any detail, but just chat about them. Nate brought up right before we started that Adam Thielen is rumored to be signing with the Panthers from the Vikings, which kind of puts the lid on what was going to happen with Adam Thielen.
I think it's a good landing spot for him.
Definitely is not going to hurt. I think he's going to be a whole different type of offense. But, you know, when you get towards the end of your career, you got to take what you can get. The Texans have re-signed Laremy Tunsil, and he is now the highest paid offensive tackle at a 3-year, $60 million guaranteed deal, which could be up to $75 million all said and done. Laremy Tunsil, as we remember, on draft day was the gentleman who had the video leaked. He's gas mask guy. Yeah.
You think that's how he's celebrating this big signing?
You know, it didn't really hurt him too badly last time, did it?
Yeah.
No, and I think I saw something else on this story too. They said that he had to deal with that trade with the Dolphins whenever he got drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And now he ends up going back there, and the Dolphins ended up getting what turned out to be like Tua, Waddle, I think Bradley Chubb in the trade with the Broncos, and somebody else.
Yeah, that whole
stemmed from that trade.
Yeah, everything about that trade was really interesting. and you see that's one of those big ones that are like, this is what happened 5 years later. The Saints have signed Derek Carr.
That's a great pickup. The Saints will be. I think that's the best move they could have made.
As long as they can get Michael Thomas healthy for one.
Yeah,
That's true. Michael Thomas did some stuff with his contract, which I think is in some of the other player news, but reworked his contract. That may have helped make the Derek Carr situation possible. Bears have signed middle linebacker Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills.
Good pick for them.
Yeah.
I hope that's not foreshadowing of what they're going to do with their number 1 pick. Like, I really, really hope so.
What would you think that means?
That they're trying to build a defense.
Well, they don't necessarily need a quarterback, do they?
That's what I was going to say.
Like, you would think they get him a weapon.
Well,
What did they trade back from 1 to 9?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it all really depends on what happens in front of them.
Yeah. We'll see. The Bears situation is going to be interesting because we're going to see in some of the other moves that they've made. There's a lot that's maybe lacking on the offensive side of the ball now. The Raiders signed Jacoby Myers, wide receiver from the Patriots, the leading wide receiver from the Patriots last year. The Lions signed David Montgomery from the Bears, running back. What do we wait? Go ahead.
So who's the quarterback at the Raiders now?
Jimmy G.
Is that who we got?
Yeah, Jimmy G signed with him like last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was trying to remember. Okay. All right.
We're going to get there too. The Lions have David Montgomery from the Bears, running back, which is one of the offensive pieces that left.
Yeah.
And in a slew of moves that have something to do with Steelers country, the Raiders have signed linebacker Robert Spillane. The Seahawks have signed linebacker.
Seahawks.
The Seahawks. I did it again. The Seahawks have signed linebacker Devin Bush from the Steelers, and Miles Jack, I believe, was let go by the Steelers, which is their entire middle linebacker core.
They're getting new ones.
They have to get new ones. I think they picked up one guy so far in that area, but I think I saw a stat that the Steelers middle linebackers had 0 sacks and 0 interceptions this entire year. So everybody knew that something was going to happen, but I didn't expect everybody to leave. So we will see. The Bills re-signed free safety Jordan Poyer. Good move for them. The Steelers signed Patrick Peterson from the Vikings, cornerback. Good move for the Steelers.
Agreed.
Bengals picked up offense.
Good. Did I make it up? Is he a return guy too, right?
He was it early on in his career. I don't think he does so anymore.
I mean, we don't really have. We have that Gunnar Olszewski or whatever, but
yeah. He definitely did early in his career. I agree.
Yeah.
Jim, the Bengals picked up Orlando Brown from the Chiefs, offensive tackle.
They need that.
That was a good move for them. The Falcons picked up Taylor Heineke, quarterback from the Commanders.
Okay.
The Colts got Gardner Minshew from the Eagles. The Cowboys.
Why?
Well, the Colts don't have anybody at quarterback.
Oh, no. Okay. I'm thinking the other way around. Okay.
Yeah. The Colts have Matt Ryan no longer there, but they still have to pay him. The Cowboys re-signed defensive back CJ Goodwin, has some local ties, a Wheeling guy.
Yeah.
The Broncos signed running back Samaje Perine from the Bengals, which is
he's a good player.
I know.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, ooh, the Broncos did something good here, I think.
Don't screw it up.
They'll find a way. The Panthers signed Andy Dalton.
Good journeyman. Forever a backup.
So that's who's going to be potentially. I mean, maybe it initially throwing to Adam Thielen. We don't know. I think the thought is that he's going to be there to mentor. But who knows what's going to happen? We already talked about Jimmy G going to the Raiders. The Jets picked up Alan Lazard from the Packers, wide receiver. Sam Darnold is going to the 49ers.
So the
That
Jets
went back.
let's go back.
Yes,
So the Jets have Alan Lazard,
correct.
and they might also have Aaron Rodgers.
They may also have Aaron Rodgers.
I wonder if he was on that list of people.
Oh, the list that wasn't a list?
Yes. Just foreshadowing.
Nate, you listened to that whole interview. What were your thoughts on that whole list portion of that interview with Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, he basically just said that whole list was a crock of shit.
He said they asked me about people, and obviously I know some of them, so I'm going to speak well of them. And if they pick them up, he's like, I didn't give him a demand list.
Yeah, it's not like he's like a concert performer and gives him a rider list.
Right. So Sam Darnold going to the 49ers is like the head scratcher of the week as well. Like somebody
I
said
saw that. Immediately thought to myself, what in the world are they signing him for? I mean, I guess he can be like the mentor thing, like we said with Andy Dalton.
But is that
But
is
he's
he
still in
going
his
there to be
late
QB3 or QB2?
Which is just chess. Like, we're going to screw other teams out of like getting a quarterback.
I don't think
Good
there's any other
point.
teams that are competing for Sam Darnold.
Well,
Yeah, but
and
like, it's just like we're taking all the options away from other teams. So at the end of the day, they have no one.
but like Muff said too, it's like, is he going to be QB2 or QB3? Because you still have Trey Lance, and then you're going to have Brock Purdy once he's healthy. So really, you're screwing one of those guys over because you're not even going to dress him during the games.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. He's the one you're going to screw.
Then why'd you bring him in? Like it's
So that somebody else can't have him.
Because you're threatened by Sam Darnold.
Because the options of not having him and getting some other junk is not like, you don't want to be that guy. It's like, who doesn't want the hot potato? You don't want the hot potato. I don't want the dog turd.
I would rather have like a 7 or 8 year vet who doesn't anticipate to ever see the field to come in and mentor those 2 young quarterbacks. That's just my own personal opinion.
Sure, I don't.
Like what Andy Dalton going down. Like that's.
But is Andy Dalton willing to coach somebody?
He pretty much has been up until he's been asked to start last year.
I mean, he did it to Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
He did it last year with the Saints until, like Muff said, until he was thrown into action.
Like they're not bringing him in because they want him to start. They're bringing him in because he can start, but they'd rather him be there just to help the other guys figure it out.
Yeah, you don't bring in Andy Dalton and go Super Bowl.
Although the Patriots are bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh, I can't wait to see the TikToks with him and Bill.
I don't see Bill getting involved in his TikTok antics.
He's going to be like
If I'm
Brian
being
Kelly.
honest.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Do you guys remember the bit a few years ago when Randy Moss was talking to Bill Belichick about the team Halloween party?
I don't.
And he was like, oh, yeah, we're going to a party, whatever. We're all dressing up and this, that, and the other. And Bill shows up with his wife dressed up, and I can't remember what. But that's what it's going to be like with Juju and Bill with TikTok. He's going to be like, so, Juju, what is this TikTok that everybody tells me about?
Could be it. Could be the next big thing. Juju going to the Patriots, is this just because of the Super Bowl? Or because, I mean, he's theoretically coming in to maybe replace Jacoby Myers, who was their number 1 receiver.
I mean, it's an even trade-off. I mean, I saw a side-by-side of their numbers because Jacoby Myers was kind of ticked because it basically was the same deal that he got with the Raiders.
Right. So, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where this comes up. And who knows where I think we know what the history or the future is for the Patriots at quarterback, but who knows? All said and done, if it's going to pan out with Mac Jones. In some trades across the league, Stephon Gilmore was traded from the Colts to the Cowboys. Darren Waller was traded from the Raiders to the Giants.
That kind of surprises me. He's been a little bit of a staple there.
Could have potentially been a reason to free up some cap space.
Yeah, that's true.
For Jimmy G. Jonnu Smith was traded from the Patriots to the Falcons. Jalen Ramsey traded from the Rams to the Dolphins, and probably the most high-profile trade thus far.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how that one goes.
Why?
Because Miami was like right on the cusp of being a really good team last year. Because then you bring in a guy like Jalen Ramsey, like he can still play, but if shit hits the fan, he's going to be the one throwing more shit into the fan.
Possibly, yeah.
It's like he can't just let his talent speak for himself. He just got to open his mouth and stir the pot.
Yeah, that's 85% of the league, I feel like.
Yeah, but he's in the top.
He's in the top 10%.
Yeah.
He's a top 10%er.
Yeah.
Starting.
Wide receiver DJ Moore traded from the Panthers to the Bears.
There's your weapon.
Is that appealing to you, Jim, as a Justin Fields fan?
No.
No. And wide receiver Brandon Cooks traded from the Texans to the Cowboys.
Talk about a journey wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like, I think he's the first player to ever be traded 4 times in a career. Some like odd stat I saw.
Or the amount of picks he's been traded for.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are doing interesting things.
Until they show that they can win in the playoffs, they're still the Cowboys.
Well, you'll get to it in the term. Like I'll jump right to it. They're getting rid of Zeke. They're
Which we expected though, right?
Right, and they're making trades for journeyman, and I don't know if they're trying to make room for the cap or like what are they doing? Like nothing screams, "Hey, we're going to make a big run with these moves." They were in the talks for OBJ, but that seems to have fallen out. Sometimes I think Jerry just needs to take some of his meds and get some clarity.
I feel like trading for these guys in Cooks and in Gilmore, you're trading in to get proven guys. He's not like taking the risk on a young guy or drafting somebody. He wants to win now, and he wants to get guys that have proven they can help with the cause right now.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. I will see. I mean, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, then I think there's a rebuild coming in the near future for the Cowboys.
And listen, if it doesn't work, it's just status quo.
Yep,
that's true. And some terminated contracts. The Bucks terminated tight end Cameron Brate and running back Leonard Fournette. Nate, what do you think about that?
Fournette was expected because he just wanted too much money when he did re-sign the last time. And that rookie played really, really well, that Rashad White. And then I think they went out and they signed another running back already. Don't remember who it was. But Cam Brate, I think, is going to be the bigger one. He's been there his whole career, like 8 or 9 years. But again, they had a rookie, Otten, who played really well for them this year. So Brate was just an unfortunate cap casualty. So someone's going to get a pretty good tight end too, I think, whenever they pick him up.
I agree. The Colts have terminated QB Matt Ryan, but in a turn of events, his agent apparently negotiated into his contract that no matter what, he would still get $12 million next year.
That agent deserves a bonus.
Yeah,
probably even need a day.
10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool mill coming his way. And so a couple other cap casualties. The Rams terminated Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker, and the Ravens, Calais Campbell.
I think Bobby Wagner is, well, I guess Calais Campbell falls in the same boat. They're guys that have been in the league at least, a decade?
Yeah, I think they're 10-ish.
So those guys, they're going to go try to play for a contender, which I think that's what Bobby Wagner thought he was doing when he signed with the Rams. And then that went spiraling downhill any faster than anybody could have anticipated.
Yeah.
Quickly went to shit.
In some other player news, the Saints restructure wide receiver Michael Thomas to $10 million this year with an opportunity for up to $15 million, which is probably just to create some additional cap space. Austin Eckler is looking for a trade and has asked the Chargers to start chatting with other teams. Jim, as a Chargers fan, how are you feeling about that?
Okay. I mean, it's par for the course, man.
It is. He
Is
was.
this all come down to his contract?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they don't want to reach whatever he wants, so he asked if they could start chatting with other teams. So, Eagles center Jason Kelsey is coming back for another season, and the Eagles are plus 400 to repeat as the NFC champions. Really, are we still going to see rugby ball playing?
I don't know, because the Eagles had lost. I know I saw earlier one of their offensive guards signed with the Steelers today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they may have lost another one. And then plus, I don't know who else they lost. And then as we were recording, I saw an update that CJ Gardner-Johnson, their starting safety, is rumored to sign with the Lions.
CJGJ maybe going to the Lions.
So it all depends on who they can get back, because I mean, it's inevitable whenever you make a Super Bowl run, you're not going to have that same team.
Right. There's going to be some pieces that fall off. And the Bills restructured quarterback Josh Allen and defensive end Von Miller contracts for about $32 million in cap space, some of which definitely went to Jordan Poyer as they re-signed him at the free safety position. It's a lot of general stuff. It's not as exciting, maybe some other editions of the offseason, but we're kind of all leading up to the draft now. And the draft is going to be the most exciting thing coming up until probably the only other thing that could happen before then is maybe groundbreaking in NFL is what ultimately happens with Aaron Rodgers, although we already know pretty much what's going to happen. It's just what's going to be the price.
Well, and like I saw a thing too, it's like Rodgers just needs to push the envelope here and just keep reporting to everything and getting paid. It's like, fine, you don't want to trade me, you can just keep paying me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. If I remember correctly, the Packers don't have any like formal obligation until the start of the season. So I mean, he's still there, and he's either going to be on the roster, he's not going to be on the roster. If he's on the roster, he's getting paid.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as long as he keeps showing up, if they don't trade him.
Yep. Yeah, I should say I don't think anything locks in until the season starts. Like there's no like June 1. There's this magical date where if they release him by then, they get a whole bunch of extra money in their cap or something. So we will see. More to come next week, probably with more signings, cap space casualties, and other things in next week's edition of
the offseason.
Which brings us into other interesting news in the sports world and sports adjacent. First,
interesting news in sports.
Football.
First, updates from the World Baseball Classic. Nate, I'll let you take this away.
So watching the game right now, USA has put their foot on the gas, and they are currently beating Cuba 13-2 in the bottom of the sixth. And if I remember correctly, I think there is a 10-run rule here in this tournament. So that would save them on a couple innings of pitching here. So it looks like USA is going to have the opportunity to defend their I almost said national title, to defend their World Baseball Classic title versus the winner of Mexico and Japan.
Good. Over the span of this World Baseball Classic, there has been discussion about MLB players partaking and some of the far-reaching concerns and far-reaching results and outcomes of some things that have happened, including Edwin Diaz injured celebrating his team's win, tearing his patellar tendon. He will need surgery and will be out for the season. Diaz is the closer for the Mets.
Correct.
There's a difference between playing in the World Classic and getting hurt on accident and playing in anything and getting hurt because you were celebrating.
Right. This is a freak accident. This is not like,
It?
I mean, he did celebrating. He wasn't playing.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right. If that's what you're defining freak accident. Me, I just think of it as like stupid accident. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like, was it
Is
Martin
anybody else
Dramatica?
upset? Yeah. Is anybody else upset we're not going to hear any Timmy Trumpets music this
That's not true. I'm sure that they should still do it, right? Whoever their new closer is, they should still do it just because it's fun.
I don't know. It's not going to have the same vibe.
I agree. But
Well, we hear it on everything, so it's kind of like
a member of the Astros, aka the Cheating Bastards, Jose Altuve broke his thumb, Jim. He's going to need surgery and is out indefinitely.
Then he'll take steroids and fix it.
Alex, is that a proven remedy for a broken thumb?
taking steroids.
Yes.
No, I cannot medically support that.
Will steroids help the regrowth of
No.
any bone or damage?
Bone? No.
Damage?
2?
Ligaments?
No. You're not going to help. I mean, you're not going to fix something that's broken because you're using steroids.
Can
What
it
about
assist in
human
his
growth
recovery?
hormone?
I mean, I don't know the science behind that, but I'm going to go no. I'm going to go if you need to have the surgery or whatever you need to have done and rehab it and fix it like a normal human being.
Well, you've admitted you don't know the science, so I don't believe you.
Okay. Please don't take steroids, Jim. That is the last thing you need. I just want to make that abundantly clear again.
Okay.
There's no medical benefit to you, Jim.
I'm just saying, if the guy breaks a bone, he'll find a reason why he's a cheating bastard. He'll find a reason why steroids are okay.
Steroids will not help a broken bone. I can confirm that I can see no reasonable reason that would work.
Adrian Peterson blew out his knee, and all of a sudden he regrew a new knee.
Okay.
I don't think he regrew a new knee.
Wow, that boy was back way too quick.
Did he break his knee?
He grew it back with human growth hormone, I think.
There's a lot of pieces in your knee.
And he blew them all out.
He
Alex.
tore his ACL.
So he probably had ACL surgery.
And then he got the juice. And then that's what's happening in baseball. Sorry, I'm just trying to make the baseball conversation more lively because baseball sucks.
The Dodgers, Freddie Freeman suffered a hamstring injury. His day-to-day to play for Team Canada. All of this really collapses into the discussion of, is it worth these high-profile and high-earning MLB players to play in this event?
I'd rather him play in this event than other kinds of events.
Such as?
Oh, it's
Like any kind of like summer league type stuff and all that. I mean, other than spring training, I get spring training. But like this seems like you're playing for a little bit of like national pride. And it's kind of like the World Cup in soccer. Like those guys play in the World Cup, even though they have contracts with other teams.
well, and I like how the players had said too. This is so much more competitive than your spring training game, and
Yeah.
and you're not going out and taking BP on the backfield, or you're a guy you're going to make the club, and you're playing against guys that are single A or triple A at best and getting crappy at bats and maybe 2 or 3 bats a day. You're seeing the best of the best from this country, and all these other countries have the best of their MLB guys too.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I'm getting at is I'd rather see them be doing this than doing something else.
I forget which country it was, struck out 3 straight batters and immediately got picked up by an MLB team, like in their farm system, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that. I can't remember who it was either.
He
It was a young kid too. He's like,
he was like 16, 18,
Yeah.
something like that. That's a pretty cool story if you're looking for this, as well as 4 Puerto Rican pitchers combining for an 8-inning perfect game in the World Baseball Classic.
There you go.
how's that, Jim?
Cool.
Cool. In college football, Colorado spring game is going to be the only one that will air on ESPN, or at least in the networks, as it will be on ESPN2, and all others will be on ESPN Plus. Dion continuing to elevate the Colorado Buffaloes football team and that program.
I believe that that's a gross overgeneralization. Like the Big Ten network's going to play every spring game.
Okay.
So when you say like the only spring game to be on ESPN,
Big Ten Network's not ESPN.
we're kind of hyping it like Dion.
If I'm in the
Only
hospital,
man.
Well,
if I'm in the hospital, I can watch if I'm in the hospital, I can watch that game on ESPN. You have to pay a special.
Let's reword this and say Colorado is the only spring game that the basic cable package across the country can see.
He's going to cover. Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
No matter if you're in Alaska, all the way to Florida, wherever in the U.S., anybody and watch the Colorado spring game.
Via basic cable.
Yeah.
That's a lot bigger deal than being on the Big Ten network.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I like that a lot better. So you can still see your spring games. You just got to pay for them.
Yeah.
If you don't want to watch
I feel like
Dion in this show.
I feel like this is just setting him up for failure, though.
Oh, yeah.
As big as a WV fan as I am, I would not pay an extra $10 a month just to watch my spring game. But if they played on ESPN, I'd watch it.
I wouldn't pay money for the Big 12 channel either. I don't blame you.
Well,
That's dog shit.
Okay.
Okay.
In golf drama,
I mean, who's in the Big 12 for you to watch anymore?
Why are we doing this right now? Like, what the hell?
I mean,
how did you just jump down my throat about the Big 12? I didn't say. I literally just talked crap on my own team. I said I would not pay to watch the Mountaineers spring game.
Calm down.
Listen, Jim had to watch the Big Ten network because there was no Big Ten team in the national championship game.
You're right. I'm asking you if you.
He's pissy because we're talking about a different conference than the Big Ten.
No, stop. I'm asking you. If you're going to watch the Big 12 network, who's on it right now? Has Texas and Oklahoma left?
Not yet.
So it's 2024.
God, I hope the Big Ten loses every game. And I hope they tie every single game between each other.
I'm just saying.
It's a whole bunch of undefeated seasons.
Alex is going to become the biggest USC and UCLA fan ever.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Will that be a Big Ten team? And I'd be proud of him.
I don't think Alex is going to take it on because they're the Big Ten team. Alex wants them to be the party crashers.
Yeah. To be like, look how good every other freaking conference was except for your ass.
I understand.
That was out of nowhere that you threw that in there for no reason. There was zero. I didn't say a single bad word about the Big Ten. I just want to throw that out there. I didn't start that.
Now the podcast is more interesting than when we were talking about baseball.
Golf drama.
All right, back to sleeping.
The RNA, which is the Royal St. Andrews situation. The USGA held a press conference Tuesday to announce their proposal to roll back the distances that golf balls can fly at elite tournaments.
A rule?
A rule to regulate how hot
they're going to cement in
golf
the golf balls now.
The proposals, set to take effect in 2026, if adopted, would reduce striking distances by 14 to 15 yards on average.
Sorry, I'm with Jim. This is.
I'll be right back.
I don't know where he went, but he did not want to talk about the golf balls anymore.
So, a couple player quotes about this before we get into conversation. Justin Thomas said, "You're trying to create a solution to a problem that doesn't exist."
Thank you.
To me, it's so bad for the game of golf.
Hello, I'm the PGA commissioner, and you know what I don't like? Fun. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make the balls not be able to fly at all. And then we're going to hit them with little tiny sticks. It's not going to, and you see that league over there, that Live Golf Posh? We're not going to compete with them at all. Fuck all that. We're going to make it boring as all hell. We're not going to do anything to compete with it. We're going to have our league is going to be full of tea and quietness, and don't you dare make a fuss, and the balls will be soft, little tiny, no noise, none of that bollocks.
And then what's going to be next is they're going to take what baseball has done. They're going to develop BB Core golf clubs.
Why is your USGA guy British?
Because it had to be some posh son of a bitch that said, you know what? We're not going to make this entertaining anymore. We had a great run during COVID when we were the only show in town. And now we're just going to tank ourselves.
Big guy Jim had some thoughts on this.
I bet he did.
If you could say I'm the complete opposite times 1,000, that's what I would be. I think it's the most atrocious thing that you could possibly do to the game of golf. It's not about rolling golf balls back. It's about making golf courses more difficult. I think it's the most unimaginative, uninspiring, game-cutting thing you could do. Everyone wants to see people hit it farther. That's part of the reason why a lot of people like what I do. It's part of the reason a lot of people don't like what I do. I'm all about equality. I'm not about equity on this front. So what Bryson is speaking to is many people in this echelon of the golf community that Jim is representing with his figure. Jim, what's your figure's name? Your character?
Boris.
It's got to be like a Brad or a Scott.
Let's go with Scott.
Yeah.
Since we may have a lead on a Brad to be a guest, let's go with Scott.
It's funny because Scott's my dad's name and he is the opposite of that, and that's why it's so fun for me.
Right. So what they're chatting about here is that the courses, right, can only change so much typically on the land that they sit on. So these are mostly unchanged, since they were probably developed in the 1900s at some point. But the technology of golf has continued to advance to the point where the courses are not being played as they maybe were intended to. So that's where all of this comes into play. So Bryson DeChambeau is calling attention to the fact that, like, hey, why don't you do something about the courses? Let's stop messing with the golf balls. People want to see us hit the bar. Chicks dig the long ball, right?
I want to take a quote from a guy that I know is a high school baseball coach and has a little place where he trains some guys, and he always says, "You don't like it, play better."
Sure. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get people like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime and Hulk Hogan out there to hit these cement balls. There's just going to be a bunch of jacked up guys trying to hit this ball harder. Because I don't want to see wee little John Fromm out there hitting this ball that goes a whopping 150 yards. Like, we're going to have to get more big guys.
To get bigger, they're gonna have to start taking HGH. They have to start taking steroids, Jim.
Juice them up.
I'm nervous to keep bringing this up around Jim.
So we will see. We will see where this goes. Again, nothing it's there yet, and we'll see where some of the big names, the Rorys and the Tigers, come into this conversation. In other baseball news, speaking of fun rules, MLB informed teams and players that its efforts to crack down on pitchers' use of illegal substances will be enhanced. These will now be more detailed and more often.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
What? Why is he being blamed?
Conflicting today.
I mean, it's got to be something. I don't know what to blame on this news. We're going to crack down on everything.
Quote, umpires have been instructed to increase the frequency and scope of foreign substance checks this year, including randomized checks of fingers, including removal of rings worn on either hand of pitchers, hands, hats, gloves, belts, waistlines, and pants. Pitchers may be subject to checks before or after it.
We're going to freaking strip search the guy. That'll speed up this.
What I personally want is for the umpire to come out and go like this, like take the pitcher's finger and go and like lick it and be like, he's good.
No, the new uniform for pitchers will be Speedos.
Yeah, so we can see.
Speedos.
I mean, they're speeding up the game, so we got to find other ways to slow it down, right?
Jeez. Yeah. Nate, I hope you're ready. You better get a Speedo ready. Nice banana hammock for you, sir.
Yeah, wait till they start checking pitchers like Max Scherzer that use the pitch comb on their glove. Max, you keep touching your glove a lot. No, I'm calling my own goddamn pitch.
Catchers will also be subject to routine inspections, including checks on their equipment as well.
Now, that kind of makes sense to me because I remember a couple of years ago, it was Molina was catching, and I'm assuming it was Wayne Ray for as many times they caught each other. But anyway, Molina took one off the chest protector. He's going around looking for the ball, and it's seriously stuck on pine tar on his chest protector.
Yeah, I feel like the catchers people have known they're probably involved, but now they really probably think they're going to be involved.
See, but I don't think it's going to, or it's as big as a deal as they're making out to be. Because you see, how often do they throw out a ball in baseball?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, the average ball, I think they say lasts like 3 or 4 pitches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything. It hits
like
the
as
dirt.
soon as you throw a pitch, it touches the dirt. Well, that ball's done for the day.
Yep.
It could be
foul ball. You're not getting it back. New inning, new ball. I mean, I couldn't imagine the amount of baseballs they go through in an average game. So there's no way you can tack up a ball.
Jim?
It's got to be Elon Musk's fault. It's somebody's.
You're looking for a fall guy?
Somebody's got to be to blame for why we've decided to Screw shit up.
Make everything boring.
Yeah.
So from MLB to NASCAR, Jim.
Oh,
Jim likes NASCAR. That'd be better.
More bullshit. Okay. NASCAR handed out their largest penalty in the history of the sport to Hendrick Racing. Now, normally, I'm all about laying the hammer down on Hendrick because they always win, but they issued $400,000 in fines, $100,000 to each crew chief, suspended each crew chief 4 races, and docked 100 regular season points and 10 playoff points. Okay. Because the louver.
The what?
The louver on the race car
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit out of spec on all 4 cars. If you all remember when we talked the new car of tomorrow, they're all going to be as stock as possible. Okay. This louver sits on the radiator and can bring in more air to the car, causing more downforce on the front. Okay. They're saying that these 4 cars were modified outside of spec, making them cheater bugs. They're going to appeal it, blah, blah, blah. But, like, isn't this NASCAR? Like, they're supposed to cheat. That's the whole fun of it.
That's part of how that
So
works,
you
right?
can eat a
But
NASCAR.
you can still get caught.
What's that, Nate?
So I want you to clarify. So cheating in racing is fine. Cheating in baseball is not okay.
Yeah.
I think you're saying cheating in racing is expected.
Correct.
Well, aren't some of the worst cheating scandals in the history of sports from baseball?
Yes.
So shouldn't it be more expected in baseball?
But they're still cheating bastards.
Okay. So what are they
Also,
what are they in
As long as you
NASCAR?
understand.
What are they in NASCAR?
Dumb because they got caught.
Fair enough.
Okay. Also in NASCAR, Denny Hamlin. This is what I want to talk to you guys about the most. Denny Hamlin was fined 25 points and $50,000 because not for wrecking Ross Chastain, but for coming out on a podcast a week later and saying, yeah, I wrecked him on purpose.
So if you had never said anything,
No fine.
Well, that's his dumbass fault.
I mean, yeah, you gotta like admitted that you did it. At that point, they're like have no choice but to punish you.
So, like, what do you think about that? Like,
I think it goes back to what you
finding
just
after
said.
the fact.
If you're dumb,
Dumb. Should have just kept his mouth shut.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think at that point my thing isn't that they're dumb. It's that the guy's dumb who decided to tell.
To tell. You should have just kept your mouth shut. Right. Lastly, in NASCAR,
does this involve more fines and penalties?
the fine has not been decided. So they have what they call Bear Bond. It's like really sticky tape they put on a car to like make it more aerodynamic if it's been wrecked. But on a cold day, it doesn't stick very well. Okay. They put it on. This, like, it was in the lower league racing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy I don't even know the guy's name. He had a sweet mullet, but it fell off his car. NASCAR said, you are now black flagged and must leave the race. Your race day is over because you put stuff on the track causing a prolonged caution. Okay. This guy said, all right, I'm going to go park my car, not in the garage. I'm going to stop my car under caution on the start-finish line. I'm going to leave it there. You all can tow it back, and I'm walking to the garage because I owe it to my sponsors to at least leave their name out there so the car can be seen. And I'm going to the garage. What do we think of him?
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Kind of an asshole move.
I think it's smart as hell.
I mean, I'm sure his people loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, something will come out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Who's his sponsor? This actually makes
It was like an insurance company.
no. That's not as fun.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was like some really cool sponsor.
Bush
I
Light.
wish we
obscure.
sponsored him.
I think we're a little short on cash for that.
Yeah, it takes a lot
We'll
of
get
money.
a sticker. Tell him we'll give him a sticker. That's what we'll do.
We'll give him a sticker of who
Wait.
would be our NASCAR sticker if it wasn't you, Jim?
I don't know.
Who do we have that we've ever talked to that would be the NASCAR spokesperson?
I think Nate would be great.
Muff Neck.
The driver's name is Josh Williams. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who his sponsor was.
Him, I guess.
He could be our guy.
Could be.
If he'll put a sticker on his car, we need to figure out how to get one to him.
You know what? I'm gonna work on that.
Sign him up.
Summer project.
Sign him up. All right, and that brings us to the end, but not quite the end, because Jim has a shout out.
I do. Let me do that now, Muff.
Yeah, have at it, buddy.
So
I'm nervous.
this is not. In no way do they sponsor us. Just so we're clear. I don't want any blowback. But Simple Times Mixers.
Okay.
Okay. They're a Columbus company, and they make cocktail mixes. Okay. If you go to simpletimesmixers.com, you'll see their products. They have a simple margarita, blood orange margarita, blue basil lemonade, blackberry lemonades. I'm a big fan right now of the raspberry mule. Mix it with some Jack Daniels. They just have chai apple mules. They have some honey peach cold brew tea. They have some lemonades. Okay.
Okay.
All natural.
That's important.
All natural from farm to the drink. The glass you can reuse. It's a nice big jar. It's a cool
That's
company.
How I need to understand how a mixer can be all natural.
The ingredients. There's no alcohol in it. You put the alcohol in it.
Right, but are there any other ingredients that would be considered other parts of it? Like there's usually like sugar or
It's all natural sugar. Like the raspberry mule was all natural sugar, all natural berries, lime, and ginger.
all right. That's
All
pretty cool.
juiced up.
All
It
juiced,
tastes delicious.
all juiced up.
All juiced up.
Do you use the recommended amount of alcohol or do you double
I
it?
did, which is weird for me. I know, but I actually mixed it
We believe
correctly.
this. We're gonna need to talk to your wife for confirmation.
She'll tell you. And they even got like Margarita Madness 3-packs, different flavors.
Well.
So
What are they called again?
Simple Times Mixers.
Can you find them on any socials?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I didn't even look. Yes, they're on the Facebook, the Instagram. Let's look at their Instagram handle. Simple Times Mixers on the gram.
Sounds pretty sweet, short and sweet to the point there.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Get them. I'm sure Jim will share something to some of the stories this week from
Yeah.
Simple Times Mixers, so you can pop in with them. And while you're at it, if you don't already, follow us at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram, Twitter, sportstuffw/Jim, /Jim Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Do all the action words to get engaged with our content, get engaged with the fun, share all the things. Make sure you listen, share, and tell everybody you know about the interview from this week and any future collaborations we may have. And to do that, you have to tell a friend, make a friend, be a friend.